Next stage is what we're looking at. Yes, of course, there is the monitoring, but then there's also the confidence building, and that will come by the delivery of aid, by the visible progress on the ground, and the actual success that comes to both parties from the achievement of peace. And could my right honourable friend perhaps say a little bit about that?
Yes. First thing is, in terms of visible confidence-building measures on the ground, one of the most important things is to get money into the Yemen economy and through the Central Bank of Yemen to strengthen its functioning and make sure that pensioners and civil servant salaries are paid. And that will bring spending power into the economy, and that is covered in the draft UN resolution. But in terms of the next steps, the basic issue that we have is that the Houthis, who are around 15% of the population, recognise that they can only have a junior part in a government of national unity, which has to be the next step. But they need to have confidence that they will be secure in being able to play that part. And so that's why building up confidence over the next 6 weeks is going to be important. They accept that principle. But they have to be confident that it would be delivered. And of course, given what's happened, there is a huge amount of mistrust.
Stephen Twigg.
I welcome the Foreign Secretary's statement and the progress that has been made with the Stockholm talks, and can I echo his praise for both Martin Griffiths and Mark Lowcock. On ceasefire monitoring, the Special Envoy explicitly requested a robust UN regime answerable to the UN Security Council. Can the Foreign Secretary assure the House that that is what is provided in the current text? And on confidence building, one of the issues that would really secure greater confidence would be agreement on the reopening of Sana'a Airport. Is that something that's being considered in the next stage?
Well, first of all, can I thank him and his committee for their sustained interest in Yemen and also for his personal commitment to making progress. The monitoring mechanism is UN authorised. It will be reporting back to the UN. It's led by a Dutch general, and the UN Secretary General is going to be requested to report back weekly. So absolutely yes to that question. With respect to the airport, this is something I raised with both delegations. We were hoping we could get agreement to reopen Sana'a Airport. There are essentially 2 international flights, I think to Egypt and Jordan, but the government of Yemen wanted to insist that the international flights went to Aden first, which they control and which the Houthis were reluctant to do. And so we, in the end, weren't able to reach agreement, but that is very much the next step.
Bob Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Could I concentrate on the corridor that's going to be between Hodeidah and Sana'a, which is 140 miles long, through very rough country, and whichever peacekeeping or monitoring force that goes in has got to be of the highest quality, because that is one heck of a distance to monitor, speaking from my own experience. And then, beyond Sana'a, or indeed direct from the port, you've got to have corridors out to get aid, because this aid will not succeed unless the people that are hungry put it in their mouths. And that is the crucial thing that we've got to achieve.
Well, he is absolutely right, and his own experience of peacekeeping in Bosnia informs his questions, as the whole House will have seen. We do have that commitment from both sides to clear that road of competence, but we won't succeed unless there is enough trust between both sides to actually sustain that. And this is one step at a time, and I agree with him. There is a long way ahead to make this happen. But what will happen, to reassure him, is that the UN will be monitoring very closely what happens, and anyone who breaks this agreement will face the full wrath of the UN and the members of the Security Council.
Hilary Benn.
Indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. The fact that the Foreign Secretary has been able to report tentative progress after so much suffering and bloodshed to the House today is a reminder of the importance of seizing the moment and of courageous political leadership, and I join all the other members who have expressed their thanks to him, to Martin Griffiths, to Mark Lowcock, and lots of other people who worked very hard to bring this moment about. He said that Patrick Commertz and his team may arrive on Saturday. Is it his understanding that the redeployment committee that he is responsible for chairing will have representation from the two warring parties, that they will turn up, number one? And number two, on the peace process, it has been reported that the government of Yemen was unwilling to sign an outline peace plan in Stockholm because they thought it gave too much to the Houthis and not enough to them. Can he confirm whether that is the case, and what does he think now needs to happen in order to win their confidence so that a peace plan can indeed make progress?
Well, I also thank him for his long-standing interest in this issue. On the second of those two questions, I will find out precisely what I know on it, but I don't think it was the objective in Stockholm to secure the framework. I think that was always thought to be something that would happen in January at the second stage, and on the first one, if I may, I'll write to him with some details.
Richard Graham.
Madam Deputy Speaker, can I thank the Foreign Secretary for Martin Griffiths, Foreign Office officials, and his own contribution to the Stockholm ceasefire agreement, which gives a chance for peace and humanitarian relief in Yemen, and is perhaps also a boost to multilateral negotiations in general. But does my right honourable friend agree that for a ceasefire to be permanent, both sides and their backers, despite mistrust, will have to agree that there's no real victory in any further military action, only more human misery?
Well, he is absolutely right. And as a former diplomat, he will know that what has bedevilled this conflict has been the belief on both sides, which I think persisted even when I started just 5 months ago as Foreign Secretary, that a military victory was possible. I think the people who've changed the most in this respect, to their credit, are the Saudis, who I think do now genuinely wish to find a political settlement and recognise the importance of that. And so we need to continue the pressure on both sides to make sure this is actually what happens.
Kevin Brennan.
Foreign Secretary said, and I'm sure with sincerity, behind these stark impersonal numbers lie real people. He'll know because I've raised it in correspondence, in meetings with ministers and on the floor of this House, the case of my constituent Jackie Salah's daughter, Safia, who was kidnapped from Cardiff in 1986, brought up in Yemen, has children who are also British citizens and wants to leave Yemen and travel back to the UK, but she needs to get a British passport. She can now, apparently, has the funds to travel to Cairo to apply for that. Can he please make sure that his officials, his ministers, work with the Home Office to give special attention to this case? These are British citizens, and they deserve special attention given the tragic history